Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi. Oh, Karsten is no longer a user, but a participant.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
We really only, oh, Ari, okay. Let's see. Let's give it 2 minutes, see how many more people we collect.
Should we start perhaps? Michael, you're muted.
Yeah, I was just looking to see if there's any stranded people and looking in email to see if there's any stranded people wondering why they can't join or something stupid like that. You want to start? You want to go? You want to welcome people?
Yeah, sure. I can go ahead. Yeah, okay. So welcome everyone to this fifth ASDF working group interim meeting. So I must take control perhaps. Thanks, Michael. So the agenda for today, we have NIFSI discussion on the updates, and then we can discuss some working group adoption of the drafts that you have pending in the working group, and then we can have any other business. Apology for not being able to update the slides in time. Before the NIPSI discussion, we can have a quick presentation from Jung-Ha and Yun-Jong for their drafts. This is the note. Well, this meeting is recorded, so be nice and professional. Please also notice that the IPR guidelines of IETF apply. You can see more in the links if interested. Yeah, and here there are some more information. This is the IETF Code of Conduct guidelines. Common sense mainly. Please go ahead and read it. said so. Okay, here we have NIPSI update, but maybe we can start with the non-affordance presentation, perhaps.
You probably have to stop sharing so you can
Yeah,
load her slides. There you go. Yeah.
Exactly. So I said non-affordance first. Yes, and then I guess Jungha is presenting. So let me allow to pass the slide control. Yes, Jungha, you should have control of this slide. So when you're ready, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chairs. Hello, everyone. I'm Chang'ang from At3. And at the last April interim meeting, we have introduced our draft SDF extension for non-affordance information, which defines a simple extension to the SDF that enables the inclusion of non-affordance attributes into thing description. And then at the time, there was a question why we have defined a new class of the SDF non-affordance rather than using the SDF property. So for this update, we have tried to address that comment. This is the quick summary of the distinction from the property with the non-affordance. So yes, it is technically possible to represent the non-affordance information using SDF property, but we have introduced the SDF non-affordance to semantically distinguish non-interactive and contextual or static metadata from actionable device features. So this distinction helps tools and systems avoid misinterpreting static metadata as something users or applications can interact with. So actually the purpose is totally different. The property is for direct user access or control of the live data. But for SDF, non-affordance is for static or descriptive context that looks similar, but is I can say it's a totally different design. And then, so for non-affordance information must be handled in the two different life cycle phases. So first one is the design time, when the model author decides which contextual fields a thing exposes and how they are validated. And then the second one is runtime, which is when an actual device needs to convey correct value for those fields or report that they have changed it. So according to these two life cycle phases, we organized the extension, SDF extension part into two complementary parts. Like for 4.1 is a static model definition, and then 4.2 is runtime context messaging. So first one, static model definition, shows how contextual metadata is embedded directly in the SDF document under the new SDF non-affordance class. And then the second one, runtime context messaging, introduces three JSON envelopes, which are the context snapshot and identity manifest and context patch. These are letting a deployed device or its digital twin report changes to that metadata over time. So keeping these messages outside the affordance model preserves the core principle that non-affordance data is descriptive, not interactive, while still allowing systems to keep that context up to date. So these are the three envelopes for runtime context exchanges. The first, a context snapshot conveys the full and current set of the non-affordance fields, such as installation information or geographic coordinates. And it is typically sent at boot, on request, or during periodic audits. And second one is on identity manifest, which declares immutable identity data like a model, manufacturer, capability tags, or certifications, and is normally issued once at commissioning or whenever a permanent attribute is added. For example, after a firmware upgrade that introduces a new capability. And then finally, the context patch transmits only the keys that have changed since the last snapshot, on minimizing the bandwidth when the device is moved or remounted or otherwise updated in context. So according to this proposal, we have changed it only for section 4. So we updated like this. And then the rest of the slides shows the example for the ASDF non-affordance. And then this is the context snapshot. And then this is the identify manifest. And the last one is the example of context patch. Yes, this is all I have today. Thank you.
Thank you, Junka. Do we have any question? Karsten?
Does my audio work today?
Seems so. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, so these are all very, very interesting considerations. I think what we need to make sure is that the overall architecture of this fits into the SDF architecture. And I think one important aspect of SDF is that we always have space for an ecosystem version of a model. So we have a generic model for a switch, and then we have an OMA switch and an OCF switch and a meta switch and so on. And I think we need to think about which of these parts of the overall architecture actually need to support those ecosystem variants. So those actual messages that you have been introducing, called context snapshot, identity manifest, context patch, these may have some equivalent or some very different approach in a specific ecosystem. And I think it would be useful to look at ecosystems and how they are actually handling this kind of information. The other observation is that something like a patch or a delta, of course, also makes a lot of sense for usages that are not in this non-affordance space. So yeah, if you have some device configuration and some actor changes the configuration of the device, you may want to provide an update to the configuration to those who are interested in this. And that's where we would have a similar patch or data kind of data structure. So I think we also have to look at what these envelopes actually are. Do they always have to be non-affordance information, or are they actually more widely applicable? I should mention that we have, I think, the Thing Research Group meeting tomorrow, and I will talk a little bit about model derivation, which will touch on these issues. It will not have any answers for the questions I just raised. But I think we could have some good discussion there, and we also could submit a draft with information about the 1DM discussions that we have been having about this. So that would be the next two steps from my point of view for moving this forward.
Yeah, thank Carlson for your comment. And what will be the meeting tomorrow? It will be the T2T RG meeting, or?
Yes.
Okay, so
we will have a demo showing how semantic gatewaying between Meta and L2 MWM can be funneled through SDF. And I will be talking a little bit about the work we have done since the last T2TRG data model oriented meeting about model derivation and evolution. And as I said, that has some bearing on this, but it's not necessarily related. But it might shape what we will be trying to do in this working group as well. Michael?
I was also a bit surprised by the patch thing. I wasn't quite sure if I understood why. Was it critical in some way to doing non-affordance, or it just was convenient to talk about it now? I guess I would imagine that a patch is really valuable when the size of the delta is significantly smaller than the size of the total of just retransmitting everything. And I just wasn't convinced that was the case, but maybe I'm just not understanding why it needs to be there. What would be the impact of not having it, I guess, is the question.
I think that's the case because for the description which has been changed for update, we don't have to send everything. Just the part that has been changing can be sent. So the patch is the easiest way. That's why we have used it. Thank you.
Yes, Ari, maybe quickly, we have been 15 minutes on this item, so.
Okay, well, maybe we'll just continue the discussion. But I found the lifecycle management aspects presented here interesting. I haven't had time to think about them, but maybe a site meeting in Madrid is in order to explore this a bit more.
Yeah, so, sounds good. Thanks, Ari. Yeah, let's move to the digital twin draft quickly, and then we have all the remaining meeting for discussing NIPSI. Yes, Yunjong, just give me a second that I share the slides. This is the digital twin. Yes, let me enable. Okay, you should be good to go, Yunjong.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Hyunjong Lee from H3. Today, I'm going to present our draft titled ASDF Modeling for Digital Twin version 8. This work is co-authored with Dr. Jung-Ah Hong. This is the current status of this draft. We are aligning digital twin elements from ISO 23247 Part 3 with the SDF thing structure. This is essential to promote interoperability across digital twin ecosystems by leveraging SDF's lightweight semantic affordance modeling capabilities. We have complemented SDF mapping and an example modeling in Chapter 4. Table 1 shows the mapping the information attributes of digital twin to the classes of SDF. Our approach uses SF thing as the main abstraction for representing a digital twin. Information such as identifier, location, and owner is defined via a new construct called SF non-affordance. This allows metadata modeling without implying interaction capabilities. It improves modularity, scalability, and supports digital twin registries and discovery services. The SF non-affordance is closely related to Dr. Hong's document. SDF-based digital twin modeling, including SDF affordance and non-affordance, is the main issue in this document, and Dr. Hong's document focuses on the SDF non-affordance. This slide divides each digital twin information attributes into affordance and non-affordance. As in the previous slide, information attributes such as identifier, location, owner is classified as SF non-affordance, and characteristics, status, schedule, and report can be classified as affordance. The status on the left box is a typo and should be deleted. In this version 8, we included an updated modeling example. In model sector number 1 on button number 7, using SF non-affordance for identifier, location, and owner, SF property for status and characteristics, SDF event for maintenance schedule. This demonstrates how static and dynamic attributes can be modeled together in a clean and semantic way using SDF. In conclusion, we've mapped digital twin elements to SDF structures and demonstrated our working model. In the future, we are planning to extend modeling with historical data and object relationships, provide use case examples, and develop guidance for registration, discovery, and development of SDF-based digital twins. We welcome feedback from the working group and hope that this document will be adopted as a working group document. Thank you for your attention.
Other comments about doing a call for adoption at this point? Go ahead, Ari.
Yeah, maybe I'm not sure about the call for adoption, but I was wondering a specific question on one of the slides, if that's appropriate now.
Yep.
So there was in one of the earlier slides, you have the relationship information where you mapped the digital twin elements into SDF elements, and the relationship was TBD. Did you consider using the SDF relation quality there?
Yes, I'm planning to develop about the relationship. Firstly, I used the Laris document, but I think it will be more developed for digital twin. So I'm thinking the more specific relationship will be required in this document.
Okay,
Thank
so that would be something that the large document could be extended with, or do you think it's completely incompatible?
Actually, I think the lattice document doesn't consider the digital twin. So I'll look through the lattice document more, and I'll develop more about the digital twin relationship. About
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
among the objects.
Okay, if you have more, I mean, maybe you can drop an email to the list, like what do you think are the shortcomings for digital twins in that? It might be worth looking in that draft. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't think we've really heard much about this document before, have we? It's been reposted many times, I guess, over 3 years. So I'm not sure where it's, I guess we should have done something more with it.
Yeah, I guess someone should join the draft there, Michael, and bring it to conclusion. We can try to arrange that.
Yeah. I'm just trying to, figure out how it fits into our milestones and other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Ari, anything more or?
Yeah, I think that what we concluded last time, and that we kind of needed a few different kinds of documents. That we needed one for the SDF non-affordance information that we now have coming. We needed one for like how do you use all of these things to model digital twin information, I guess. And this document is now aiming to be that document, so we should perhaps review it from that point of view. Because I mean, there has been now, of course, these changes of like what kind of documents we need and how them should be reflected. So probably reviewing these and then understanding, okay, what are the gaps? Like when do we think this document would be, good enough for adoption towards that milestone? But perhaps we're not quite there yet. But maybe that's something, an action for all of us to think about before the Madrid meeting.
Okay, adoption is not publication, so it's enough that we're happy with the direction it's going. It doesn't have to solve every problem. But if it goes in the wrong direction, then we need to make sure we're doing the right we know what we're doing.
Exactly.
So if you have specific concerns that are adoption concerns, then it would be great if you could write them down on the list, because I'm not seeing it at this point. Like I said, adoption is not promise to publication. It's just promise that we're interested in it and we want to work on it. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think my personal chance has been my ISDF cycles have been spent on NIPSI recently, so I haven't had a chance to look at the digital twin stuff. But hopefully, before Madrid meeting, we'll get to that.
All right. Anyone else?
Maybe we can proceed with NIPSI then.
All right. Thank you, Lorenzo.
Hi, Bart. I'll let me share.
Yeah. You need to tell me also how much time you need at the end, because there is no way we're going to get through all of this. So
yeah, I guess probably we can go maybe 3 minutes to the end.
Okay.
So
I'll give you 5 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, thanks. I think like just a second. Okay. Right. There are no slides here, Bart. Sorry.
No,
go ahead.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Apologies. Yeah.
So I did request for screen share, but
All right.
I don't have it yet, I think.
Yes. You should now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Bart. Go ahead.
Share. All right, you should be seeing the NIPSI ASDF or ASDF NIPSI repo. Right?
Yes.
And then what we'll do is we'll go through.
Are you sharing your whole screen or just that window, Bart?
Just that window.
Can you make that window a little bit smaller?
Smaller.
Yeah. You send less pixels, they get bigger at our end.
Okay.
So just make it maybe a little bit narrower. Yeah. 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 Very good. Thank you.
Okay. Awesome. Before we go through this, I just want to note that we are planning to host a NIPSI hackathon in Madrid. I haven't put it in the wiki yet. I'll do it this week. We will bring a Cisco implementation. It's still draft 6. It probably won't be draft 7 by then. And then we also plan to bring an open source implementation. The open source implementation, we're kind of like, working on as we have time, and we might even finish it during or actually not finish it, but bring it to draft 7 during the hackathon. So we have sample apps as well. So anybody that wants to bring like a BLE device and kind of integrate and test is welcome to do so. Then just one question for the chairs also for Madrid. We have a lot of these issues, and I'm hoping to get more before 1, 2, 3, like a Madrid meeting. I don't know if we plan some side meeting, because this will easily take up the whole face-to-face if we do it during the face-to-face. So if we plan some side meeting, or we plan to do it during the hackathon, but I know in the hackathon people come and go, and so I'm not sure. We don't have to answer it today, but we should think about what the plan is. I really want to get through all of it when we are face-to-face, if that's possible.
Let's just talk at the end if we can, and let's not do that now. Let's try to get through your issues.
All right. So there's 35 open issues, 7 closed. I just want to show you the closed. We didn't close anything behind your backs. They're actually quite old, all of them, except for this one, which I ended up closing and split into a few others, into more than one issue. So all the issues are open. And, I suggest that, we close them based on, kind of feedback from the reporter. They're not in any specific orders. So I'll just go through them from top to bottom. So this issue was reported by Ari. And so there's a broadcast action, or there was a broadcast action in draft 6. So typically what we see is that there may be kind of broadcasts coming from devices, and those are mapped to SDF affordances. They're events, right? So we fully map that to SDF affordances. And the question for Ari here is can the broadcast be used for affordances defined by SDF? So it is. But it's not, we call that an event, right? It's an event of type broadcast. But this API actually lets the gateway or the network itself kind of broadcast something. We've only kind of run across this use case in BLE where, applications have or want to broadcast something to one or more in the direction of one or two or more devices. So we don't really think that this maps to an SDF property, and we've actually moved it, kind of to extensions as well, because we don't think it really maps. It really just broadcasts a payload from the network to a device. So I'm realizing I'm sharing the wrong window, because this is with my internal GitHub ID. Just a second.
So my understanding of what you just said was that broadcast was an action, and somehow it doesn't actually map in.
Yeah. So think about like normally a broadcast would come from a device and we would pick it up as an event, right? But in this is the reverse. This is actually, you know, an application asking broadcast something to a device, and we initially had it as an action, but it's not really an action on a device. It's an action from the network to a device. So it's kind of a weird use case, and we can't find any other use case other than BLE for it. So that's why we thought they shouldn't be like in the core spec, but it should be an extension. Let me try and.
Bart, while you reshare, can you open another tab, the OpenAPI specification?
Sorry.
Sometimes it's useful to look at that.
See if I can share my whole browser. I'm actually requesting screen share again. Sorry.
What is it you want us to do, Ari?
Have the OpenAPI specification in another tab, so we can look at that, because all the contexts were given in the context. Sorry, all the comments were given in the context of the OpenAPI specification.
Okay, so now you should see another window.
Make it smaller again.
Yeah.
Just get rid of the space on the side. Fantastic.
So let me maybe. So it should be here now. So now we have put it in extensions and we have called it transmit under manage. And so if you look at the schema.
Is there any controversy here about what you did from anybody, that you turned the broadcast into this trigger?
So it's basically just transmitting a payload. So it's I don't think it's really core to the spec.
Yeah, I tend to agree with your rationale. I don't now remember the exact context of my comment, but I was wondering if you had the spec open, it might be easier to remember it. But based on what you wrote there, I guess that was verbatim from my comment. It seemed just like a light suggestion. Have you considered that? And yes, you clearly have.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that all the light suggestions are also noted. So.
Very good, appreciate.
So and I think and just to be clear, like a broadcast from a device is an event, and that maps fully to the spec.
And was this a broadcast towards a single device or multiple devices?
Yeah, typically the use case is that the broadcast is directed towards a single device, but obviously since it's a broadcast, it's heard by multiple devices.
Okay, because I'm now looking at my comment, you would avoid the need of inline protocol mappings. So I guess perhaps my point was there that now in the command, you have to give a set of parameters that in elsewhere you give as part of the ASDF definition. So now you will be able to use the same, code path and same style, but maybe, as you said, this is sufficiently different that it doesn't, there's not enough benefit of being able to use the same style.
Yeah, there is a protocol mapping. That's actually that's another issue. There is a protocol mapping, but all the protocol mapping basically says is that this is BLE, because it doesn't really map to a specific property in a GAP property in BLE.
Yeah, but I guess what my point was probably that now you have two different mechanisms for delivering the protocol mapping, whereas that most of the cases with regular affordances, it's part of the SDF definition. Whereas if I remember correctly, in this API, you have to provide it with the request.
Well, yeah, you have to provide a payload, which could pretty much be anything.
But not just the payload, but also the parameters, if I remember correctly.
Let me check.
The protocol mapping parameters, because that was kind of what I was thinking.
And what I'm hearing, and maybe I'm not understanding, is that because we're sending a specific payload, this means that the client essentially has to do the translation to BTLE itself. And that's why it has to fill in the parameters, or maybe I don't understand the point here.
Yeah, because it's an advertisement, like a broadcast, it doesn't it does not map to, if we look at the BLE terms, like a protocol mapping will map to an object in the device's GAT table, right? But an advertisement does not do that. It's just basically AVP, attribute value pairs.
Right.
And they can be they can be anything.
They're not in BTLE format. They're in NIPSI. Okay, all right. I was just confused by that. Can we go on to the next issue? We feel like we've beat this horse already.
Can I close this one, or how do we decide if something gets closed? Is that the reporter that?
I think that you say I want to close it, and you wait 20 seconds for objections.
All right. I
think this close won't fix. This sounds like close won't fix.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe what would be useful here if you can write up. I mean, maybe do it
spend 15 minutes per problem.
Yeah, no, but I mean, if you can write after the meeting, like one sentence on the conclusions, just for our own records when we next time wonder about the same thing. Yeah. I think that would be great. Thanks.
So I'll just note what I can close or not, and then I'll do it after the meeting. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Then this one is related. Actually, it's just the one you brought up now. The example doesn't have protocol mapping. We just talked about that. It doesn't have to, and the ID in the payload is not needed already in the path. So we removed the ID, and then I already explained that the protocol mapping, all we need is the BLE keyword, and then we moved it to under extensions, and we already discussed that as well.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, and here I think you have sufficient information. You don't need to write more.
Okay. So the action API, this should be a post method. So we did and then the input data and the media types. So we did kind of make this into a post, and with a location header return value. So it's basically a handle that's returned, and then you can do basically a get on the handle to get status information. And then we added octet and JSON data types. So the JSON data type was already there, and we did not do multi-value yet. So we can create a separate issue for multi-value, but the rest of the suggestion we already implemented.
Okay, on this level sounds very good. One thing I was wondering, I mean, it's possible to indicate the content format in the SDF definitions, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I mean it's indicated in the API, right? If you have content with the content type. So I'm not sure if it's needed in the SDF.
Yeah, I just wonder, like, that does the OpenAPI specification now restrict using more specific content types that could be potentially available from the SDF definitions?
Understand.
I think it's because I guess it's always more useful the applications more specific it is that you can understand the semantics. I mean, I guess like the JSON and octet string will cover like 80% of the cases, but when there is something more specific available, it might be very useful to provide that in the NIPSI APIs.
Yeah. So basically the that the SDF model would point to kind of what content types are supported for a specific affordance for a specific device.
Yes, there's a quality called content format that can indicate for each data quality. So essentially for the event section properties. So then there would be an automated way to actually basically provide that as the content format. But now I'm wondering, does the OpenAPI specification format allow to you say like more details? Because now, of course, on this generic NIPSI API, you don't know, because it depends on the specific SDF model what will be the content format. So can you say in the NIPSI API?
Yeah.
So if it's possible to say in the NIPSI API, it's probably one of these, but could be more. That would be great. But now I don't know if that's technically possible in the API, or maybe that then should be prose somewhere in the spec. Maybe something to check.
Okay, so what we can do, we can check that, and then we can also look at adding the content format quality in an SDF example, in our examples, right? And then in the text.
Yeah,
I think
please see how it will work out. I think that would be great.
Yeah. So I'll create if it's okay, I'll create a new issue for that, because it's different than what is mentioned here.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'll close this one if that's okay.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Okay. This is kind of similar to the action one. So again here, post instead of put and return a handle for an event also, and then you can use that handle to get the event status, is the event still active or not active. So similar, this is very much the same as the action API, and we addressed this in draft 7 as well.
Cool, thanks. Looks, I have a lot of interesting things to review in draft 7.
Yeah. So then get ID property read all. So yeah, so this is a kind of I said a significant discussion. So we do not associate an SDF model or map an SDF model to a device today. So the question here is, can we get like all property? If we do a get ID property and can we get all properties of a device? Now, because we don't kind of the gateway doesn't associate an SDF model with an actual instance of a device, in the API, you always have to indicate what affordances that you want the operation to happen on. We actually, in our initial implementation, we actually did do that. So But then instead of just registering a model, we would have to register a model against a device or a group ID. This kind of makes it very complex because now you have to, as an application, you have to kind of have that mapping. You have to know which device is associated with which model. Then you have to tell the gateway about that mapping. And now both of them have to maintain that mapping and keep it in sync. Then when you have a firmware upgrade, right, which happens sporadically, then you'd have to update those mappings. So it kind of adds a lot of, I would say, housekeeping, right? And there's very few, advantages or very few use cases that we see of actually associating that, because the only use cases are, in a case that you want to do an operation on a device that doesn't require you to kind of send or include an SDF affordance, and that's really only the get would be getting all properties. So in the model that we have today, the application can determine at the time it calls the API what registered model to use at the time of the API call. So let's say in the case of a firmware upgrade, you may have upgraded like half your devices and half not. So you know which ones are upgraded and which ones are not. So you could just use the right model, based on the device you have. So we kind of feel like it's adding a lot of complexity if we kind of do that ID or actual device ID to SDF model registration, and we don't feel like it adds a lot of value. So
what I heard you say is that at the beginning, when you did registration, you said this device has this model and version of the model. And now you just register the model, and the gateway is somehow has to figure out what model applies to the device. Is that what I understand that right?
Yeah, because we always when you call an IPSI API, you always use the kind of the global name or the SDF reference for the accordance. So yeah, it always kind of points you. The API call already points you to the model.
Right, and so you're saying that already happens. So by not strongly connecting it, then it means you can deal better with firmware updates, for instance, across where they're not all applied at the same time. But I think that what you're also saying is that you also therefore don't know what the list of all the properties are because you haven't done that, and therefore read all is hard or impossible.
Yeah, impossible.
Is that what I'm hearing? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
And it's not clear that you actually need it for everything, for any specific thing, but I can imagine it's very useful for diagnostics or what in the world just changed. I have a dump from yesterday and a dump from today, and my factory no worky today. So what happened? Who broke something?
Yeah, but since the application has the SDF model, they could just include all the affordances that they're interested in, or the entire.
So they could just they could just enumerate them themselves from the SDF model, and they might get errors for the things that weren't supported. But but what about things that were no longer supported? Like what if the model removed something? Maybe it went away in the new firmware, but it's still there in the old firmware. I don't know. Like,
well, but then they have a different model, right? So then
I guess you're right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I understand your rationale here, and I think the use case that I have in mind where you would benefit from having the mapping is, of course, what Michael was already referring to. Basically, the gateway can now check if you're actually accessing things properly. But then moreover, if you have a more centralized model provisioning entity, then that can then put the models on the gateway, and the application could discover the models from the gateway. So the applicators would not have necessarily a prior information about the models, but they would not be able to discover from the gateway what kind of devices are there, what kind of models are they supporting. So that model, of course, having this linkage would be needed. And
Yeah,
I think,
sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I think I may have suggested in one of our email threads that maybe this could be then an optional API call where you do the linkage. So if the deployment model is such that this linkage doesn't benefit, then you just don't have to do it. But when the deployment model is such that you actually benefit of the linkage, you would be able to do it through an API call.
Yeah. So the get registrations is available. So you can get all registered models. They're just not, mapped to instances of devices. I do see that maybe having an option could be interesting, but the problem with having option like this option has very serious implementation considerations. So it's like a vastly different from an implementation perspective. So I'm very much afraid of having two options that require two entirely different implementations. So I'm wondering if that makes the spec less usable.
Yeah, I'm thinking like
more conversation later. We're running out of time here. So this is not clear cut one way or the other. It sounds to me like we would like the mechanism of read all, but maybe this is the wrong way to get to it. That a summary, Ari?
I think it's more about actually the potential for applications to discover which models link to which devices that I think is useful. The read all would just be, extra nice feature. But it seems that I had a wrong mental model initially when I gave the comment. I thought that, okay, of course they are linked to the IDs, but then I realized that okay, they're actually not linked, and then you would not have the capability to discover which devices have which models. So you wouldn't be able to support the deployment model where you have a centralized model deployment entity, and then the applications just discover what devices support which models.
Ari, could this? I feel like this is more like a SCIM problem rather than a NIPSI problem.
Could be. Maybe it's better handled on the SCIM level. You might be right there.
Okay, so I'm not going to close this one. Open for further discussion.
Yeah, and if you have a immediate suggestion how to do it with SCIM, maybe that just solves it. But we can take that in the hackathon, for example.
I'll think about that. So this is number
98. Number 98.
Yeah.
Okay, Lorenzo, what's next? I mean, we had 3 minutes. So we have a lot of other issues here. So Bart, I don't think there's time before this next IETF to have another virtual interim. Maybe.
We have 15 minutes more, right?
Yeah. So that was just kind of like to make sure that we didn't, the machine didn't close us off. Yeah, that's correct. We have 15. You want to do one more issue? Do we have time, Lorenzo? Is everyone okay with that?
Yeah, at least I do not have any other business, so we can go on.
I'm okay.
Okay, let's go on for a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Another issue. And I was going to say that we were pulling that up. I think we could just barely arrange another virtual interim. Do you want us to do that? I think we could do like July 2. Yeah, that would just be in time, I think.
Yeah. I'm going to be on vacation, but please go ahead.
We'll go ahead. Okay. All right. We're going to do that. We're going to do that today. Go ahead with your last issue.
Oh, okay. The last one, I think we had in like writing multiple properties. We had an array in kind of a JSON object, and Ari pointed out that we could just have a list or an array, and we updated that. So it's the body is simpler now.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, close. All right.
96. Path element to, yeah, this is just a name change in the path element that to refer to collections. So Ari, you pointed this out with properties. So with property, change to properties. We did the same with events and actions. So so this is just a name change in the path element.
Cool, thanks.
Okay. See, now we're going through them quickly. Open API descriptions. Yeah, we updated all the Open API descriptions in draft 7. So I don't know if I need to close this or if you want to take another look at this, Ari, and maybe you still have specific comments. But these were really old and we hadn't really updated them.
I think this seems quite straightforward, so you can go and close.
Okay. 95. Okay. Rename property parameter to property name. This is also an easy one. So this is also in the path because we had, the collection property and then the attribute, the parameter property. Now we've got properties and then the parameter is property name. We said the same with event name and action name too. So that's also updated. Good?
Good.
Okay. Comments. Less detail in responses. Yeah, so we took that advice too. So where we just have success, like write something, we updated to just a 204 only. And with other property APIs, we removed kind of the parameters that were already in the request. So the request or the requester would already know. And the same for action and event API. So now all our responses are, very simple.
Sounds good. Now I realize that one of my suggestions wasn't very good to explain for raw values instead of just application JSON for the raw values.
Oh yeah, I didn't mention this. We also allow JSON or octet stream here. So the same suggestion probably from an SDF perspective for qualities goes for the responses, right? Is there like a different way to map it in SDF, like requests versus responses? Oh, they should be the same, right? If the request is an octet stream, then the response should also be an octet stream.
For properties, they are the same. I mean, for events, I mean, it's only one way. And then for actions, you can define input and output parameters separately.
So I'll leave this one open as well. Oh no, actually I close it and I'll add the response section to the new one that I'm creating. 93.
Sounds good.
And quality. Okay. Data types. Yeah, this is kind of the same discussion. So we do support different data types now, but we'll come back to this with the SDF quality as well. IANA consideration, yeah, this is still, we haven't updated the IANA consideration section yet, so this is still in the works. API ID parameter. Yeah, so we did. That's also an update. So we used to have ID, and so the first, kind of the first kind of path element after the base would be ID, and then we did have a registration parameter as well. So Ari pointed out that if your ID is registration, then you have a problem, but it shouldn't be but so we did update it because it makes it programmatically easier as well. So now there's a keyword in every API in the first element. It's either device or group or registration or manage. So and then after that there is the rest of the API with the ID. So that's updated in draft 7 as well.
Close.
Okay. And then NIPSI API with, this is one from you, Michael, NIPSI API with embedded protocol mapping. This is, these are legacy. I would say we kind of got rid of them altogether. And the only one, the ones that we, actually there's still a mistake here. So the connection API, so if you want to do explicit connection, we put that under /manage. Broadcast, we just discussed that went to extension, and read and write are deprecated. So because those are just get property APIs.
So you solved my naming problem by getting rid of the thing you were naming.
Exactly, pretty much. Yeah, not everything, but yeah, some of it, yes. Yeah.
It's always good to make it simpler. Yeah, go ahead, Red.
Sorry, I just want to mention we forgot to update it in the draft text. So I think there is still one place where it still says embedded protocol mapping, but we'll get rid of it.
Okay, yeah. So let's update the text and then close it. So which one is this? 88. Close it. Okay. Thank you, Rohit. How are we? Oh, I think this was the last one. We have 5 minutes left, so I'm going to stop here.
Do you have more to do?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot.
So I clicked through creating a July 2 meeting. I guess it has to be approved by the Secretariat, but yeah. Same time, new URL. Anything else before we part? Please read the documents. We need a few more participants to ideally do everything, particularly when it comes to getting more reviews and shepherds assigned. So you have interested colleagues who don't have time, then tell them they have to do reviews instead of real work. Anybody else? Lorenzo, you final words? Any other business?
Nothing on my side. I mean, there was this issue that Bart raised with respect to the devices for the hackathon. I don't know if you want to discuss that. Otherwise, I'm fine.
I thought that was a time discussion issue. What did I misunderstand?
No, I'm sorry. Just to clarify, I was wondering, like, I would really like to ideally close, like, have some more reviews before Madrid, and then try to close all the issues by Madrid in a face-to-face discussion. And I was afraid that the actual face-to-face slot we have is not long enough. So I was wondering if we need a side meeting or if we if there would be enough participants in the hackathon to do it during the hackathon.
I think that all of those are good plans, but you're right. Do we get a session request? I don't think we've been scheduled yet. Yeah, we did put in a session request, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for the interim.
I put in a one for the next virtual interim. I'm saying we did ask for a session at 1:23.
Yes, for a face-to-face meeting. Yes.
Yes, we did. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
And we asked for 2 hours. So I think, Bart, we could allocate some time, but we probably need to make sure that we're dealing with other conversations about other things. So let's see what we can get through in the next virtual interim. Just to be clear, that next virtual interim, 2 weeks, same time, same place. But we're just working through the rest of your issues. So no one run around and create slides you don't need. Fair enough.
Okay.
Was this useful?
For me, yes.
For me, very much so.
Okay, good. All right. Ari will be on vacation, surfing or something.
I wish.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Bye-bye then, I guess.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.